Greetings, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Quantum Leap. I'm your host, Toyin Umesiri, author of Mindset of an Entrepreneur. Today, with me in the studio is a special guest, Miss Cynthia Gamboa. She's the founder of Women of Aurora. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Toyin, for having me here. It's really a pleasure to speak with you and to get to know more about you. So thanks again for this invitation.
Yes, I'm deeply, deeply inspired by your work, which we're going to talk more about today. But before we dive deeper into Women of Aurora, can you please introduce yourself? Because you're a woman of many talents and you're quite connected in the community. You're quite plugged in. You volunteer. You do so much in the community. So I'm so excited to be showcasing your work and highlighting how such a great community member you are. So please go ahead and just share your background, who you are, what you do. Thank you.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm very humbled by it. I am first and foremost a mom, and I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur, and yes, I do quite a bit of community service and volunteerism here in the city of Aurora. Some of my background includes being an HR consultant for many, many years for several locations here in the area that are franchisee owned, as well as a lot of talent acquisition and placement opportunities that I've done for the city of Aurora, not the work of government, but for companies that are in the city of Aurora, I want to specify. And outside of that, I founded Women of Aurora. I founded Cups Bra Drive. I own an event special company called Cami Photo Booth and Pop of Love. And Pop of Love is really a pivot child from the COVID era, I call it, which was 5 years ago, not too long ago, right? This past week. So I do a lot of things that are near and dear to my heart, and I do them with purpose. So with Women of Aurora, I took on a leadership role where I house and incubate women who are looking for a safe space to be their authentic selves and really come out of the shell of really being leaders. And what does that look like for them? Because as women, it looks different for us than it does as males. And so just really placing authenticity and a nurturing space for women to be who they are, but also to fill their cups. So that's Women of Aurora.
Amazing.
Yes.
Thank you. And Women of Aurora, how did it start?
So it started from Cups Bra Drive. So my mother, who was passed away from cancer, 2015, thank you, she instilled in me that because she was a migrant, because she came to the U.S. with nothing but the backpack that she had on her back, she, like many of us, I grew up on going to the local food bank, not seeing my parents most of the time because they were working double shifts, right? They were making ends meet. And so with that in mind, she instilled in me that sometimes women who are escaping either they're refugees, they're escaping violence from their homes or becoming homeless, they seldom are able to find a resourceful bra. And so she went through breast cancer, and her battle really taught her that a well-fitted bra, it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference in the way a woman carries herself. It makes a difference in her confidence level, right? I tell men that it equates to you wearing the proper shoes for basketball, right? So if you're wearing shoes that don't fit you, that are torn, that make you feel uncomfortable, you're not going to do or perform your best basketball set that day.
Right.
That's the same for women. So she taught me this through her own journey. And my mother was always been an entrepreneur at heart, right? So she was an accountant by trade, but an entrepreneur by heart. And so even though she was going through breast cancer, she would host garage sales every other week. She started doing them continuously, and then all of a sudden the entire neighborhood, the subdivision was involved. And so I just remember it became a summer tradition, and I was still in college. I was actually going for my LSATs and preparing for the LSATs at Northern Illinois University, and I came back one day and she was going through my drawers and said, I told you women don't have access to clothes and you're not using these and also your bras. And I said, Mom, Nobody wants to see my bras.
Right.
First of all, ick, right?
Yeah.
Like, but she taught me that. And then the following week, when she had the garage sale again, she gave me a pendant of a turtle, and she said, "Go far, go as long as you can at a steady pace." And that's really what Cups has done. And so when I put together Cups Bra Drive, I did it in her honor. But then COVID came about.
Right.
And in COVID, being my business, Cami Photo Booth, being in this space of events and parties and quinceañeras, weddings, we're talking corporate events, right? So we need to party and gather. COVID really limited that. And I remember being on the phone with brides crying that they had to either postpone or cancel their weddings. And so I also remember that I was going through all this turmoil and hardship and adversity, and my networks were the ones that made my business profitable right away. My networks made my business known in the community. So knowing that I had access to a multitude of communities, which I kid, but when I ran for the 7th Ward for alderman for appointed, I would say that I was called Cynthia from Aurora. And really, my name became Cynthia Aurora, right? Cynthia from Aurora, because women in Naperville and Bolingbrook and the Tri-Cities like Geneva, Batavia, St. Charles, and out west in Yorkville would know me as Cynthia from Aurora. So I would kid about that, but then I started noticing that the further away we were and the more shut down we were and the less access to seeing one another and being close to one another really limited our ability to network.
Right.
So Women of Aurora comes from my mother's, spirit of entrepreneurism, kind-hearted, and also my own experience of being able to connect and build networks that then propel your business to new heights.
Right.
So I put together Women of Aurora as an incubator, and I started online, and I started asking my friends, like, hey, you're really smart about accounting. Can you tell us in the next 6 months how to do our accounting processes? Because we're sitting at home.
Wow.
We're sitting at home, right? Or how about our marketing? How about our social media presence? How do we take advantage of this time?
Right.
And really surrounded myself with beautiful women who contributed to the community. And intentionally, it was just that, an online community to bring two women access to one another.
Right. And connecting with you really as is kind of like a breath of fresh air, simply because I come from a world that is highly technical, highly strategic and results oriented, and serving as the strategist at the headquarters of Walmart, the largest company in the world, and me being a business owner as well. And through the years, I think for me, entrepreneurship in many ways has also healed me in the sense of connecting me to the heart of humanity, right? Not just seeing the world through the lens of skills and technology and all of this hardcore. I have a first degree in mathematics and second degree in information systems. I'm working for the biggest company in the world, and I'm highly skilled, highly capable, sales strategy, the language of business. And through my own journey, I think one of the biggest lessons really grounds me, and this is one of the reasons I teach the way I teach, and I was at your event. Thank you for hosting me last week to share about sales development. Is the way I now teach a lot of the technical business skill. I put at the heart of it humanity, being able to connect back to people, because I think business has lost its way. For us to primarily think about money, tech, and nothing wrong with that, but I think we've lost our way because we've forgotten that business in general is all about serving humanity, serving humans, the heart of business, really to solve for people. People are on different journeys, different stages of their life, and how can we offer solutions that enables them, that equips them, that empowers them to fulfill their own journey, not about us, but actually just supporting people on their journey. And so I've gone through that coming out of working for the biggest company in the world. I'm like, let's do this, we can do it, let's just go. And coming into the world of small business, one of the things I also realized was while big businesses have access to the best, most brilliant experts in the world, from psychologists to human behavioral experts to sales experts, the best in the world, right? That's where I'm coming from. Very high performance driven, high results oriented, on and on, like the best.
Right.
What I've found coming into the world of small business, and this is why I built my school and my programs and my books, is small businesses are struggling and they're running faster on not the best expertise, not the best strategy, not the best. And that's okay, right? But that's one of the reasons I care so passionately about bringing resources, expertise, resources for small businesses to kind of just be aware that you can optimize, you can improve, you can get bigger and all of that. And it's in that space that you and I connected, right? And I felt really inspired by your work because you are so connected to the community. You're so connected to the heart of women. You're doing everything you can, as much as you can, with what you can, to serve your community, to support them, to inspire them. And that's why for me, whatever way we can support people like you and your community, I think that's how Aurora grows. Yes, I think that Aurora, and I have this conversation with government leaders as well, is that Aurora has so much growth potential. And just like any seed, you have to water it, you have to nurture it, you have to inspire it, you have to motivate it. And I see you doing that so much for your community. And I'm saying, how can we do so much more? Because everybody deserves to grow. Everybody deserves the economic potential, the power to grow your business as big as you want. So what do you think about that?
I completely agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think because my background is, I have a corporate background, I have HR background, and I have that understanding of working at Rasmussen University as a career services advisor and advising and serving young either entrepreneurs, career-driven leaders, individuals in this community. I feel like there's two ways you can run a business, right?
Okay.
There's two ways to do it. One, you automatically know when you're applying everything you learned from the textbook and you're going out there and you're trying it, right? And then it's that trial and error. And it can take you a little bit longer. It can take you a little bit longer to get where you want to be because you're doing that trial and error, right? You're grinding the wheel.
Yes.
Or you connect and you surround yourself with individuals who can help you, right? So many times when we see a lot of corporations or we see CEOs, the way that they function is, who can I call to help me? Who do I call to help me with my HR? Who do I call to talk about accounting and taxes? Who do I know in my community that can help me with my website design or marketing or social media presence? So who we know or who we surround ourselves with can help us get there a lot faster sometimes.
Yes.
So again, you're running the same race, but it depends on how fast you get to where you want to be in that essential goal based on what you implement. And so I do agree with you that there are ways of large organizations seeing the bottom line and saying, this is what quotas we have to meet, this is the ROI we are going to get, and once we reach this return on our investment, this is where we're going next, right? So those visions. Many times as small business owners, because we are doing solopreneur or we're running our own business, we're carrying all those caps, being the accountant, being the social media expert, the website expert, the product expert, the resources, right? And building our team takes a little bit longer, right, to get there because we don't know who to pick up the phone and call. So you can do it one of two ways.
Right.
Either go out there and grind, or go out there and surround yourself with wonderful people that will uplift you and get you there faster.
Right. And what I've seen that works, and so it's a combination of things. And I've been at events where people all over the world. So what I'm sharing right now is not just local to Aurora. It's the same across from Toronto to right, like all over the world, India, wherever you are, because I do engage with like United Nations and global entrepreneurs as well, is that three things has to be put together in place for a community to thrive? The first thing is resources. The second thing is education, so knowledge, because business is about skills. You bring to your business what you know. What you don't know, you cannot use, you cannot do, right? So resources, right? And then education. And then the third one is this leg of more government, as what I'll call accelerator, right? The fuel is that it could be networking, it could be people, it could be government, but it's this, gas that speeds up business growth, because you can have skills, you can have resources, but there's still some elements of community, right, where people
Correct.
connect with each other, that if you are still by yourself, you can grow. You can grow. I think that's the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make, is when they think that being by themselves, they're going to grow their business. I haven't seen that happen.
It doesn't grow, and it also doesn't allow you to understand your own processes. So, right now, as an advisor for the Small Business Development Center at Wabansi Community College, what I'm realizing is that when somebody is ready to hire their first employee, they don't understand who they are as a leader, who they are as an owner, who they are as a boss, right? Or who they are that's going to lead the company.
Right.
They only understand their need of, here's the things I don't want to do, but I can't translate how I want you to do them,
Right.
because I know how to do them myself.
Right.
And so a lot of times it's that tug of war
Right.
that happens. And so once they're ready to scale, and they're genuinely ready to scale,
Right.
processes need to be put in place.
Absolutely.
And you can't do that if you're going,
Right.
right? There's got to be a pause to be able to then pour your brain. Literally, I tell CEOs, dump your brain into 10, 20, 30 pages of processes,
Right.
and walk yourself through doing what you do best.
Right.
So then your team can take that knowledge and implement it.
Right.
But you can't scale and you can't grow until you're ready to bring other people on board.
Absolutely.
So the boat's only going to go faster if you get more people to row, right?
Right, exactly. And this really takes us to this conversation. I've hosted a series here on personal development for entrepreneurs, right? When we incorporate, we take all the classes, company invests and all that, but entrepreneurs come in and they're pushing really hard and doing everything they can, but they forget to take care of themselves, because part of what I've seen is that the business grows to the level of each person's personal development. What do I mean? So when you think about branding is extremely connected to how we see ourselves and how we want other people to see us. Right? So it requires a lot of self-awareness. And I personally see branding as something you reflect on at least every 6 months, because as we're growing, as we're expanding, as we're developing new skills, getting to know more people, becoming more influential, I feel like sometimes entrepreneurs get stuck in the brand of when they started, who they used to be when they started. And the people who saw you when you started, they still see you through that brand. But you've grown. You've become more influential. You've become more impactful. You've grown in capacity and capability. But people forget to update that story.
Yes.
Right? Let their community know, yes, I started in this dimension. So for example, when I left Walmart, I pretty much launched this global platform called Trade with Africa, where I bring ambassadors and world leaders about US trade with Africa. So many people know me as that. But beyond that, I've grown, right? School and entrepreneurship. I sit on the board of a public company. I work with government. So I've grown. So I constantly have to update my brand based on my relationship with myself, and then the relationship I want other people to have with me. Because within that landscape, some people come for global international trade, some people come from entrepreneurship, some people come for, right, maybe my board and investor relations, all of those things. So I find I constantly have to update my community on my own growth, right, to tell that story. And then marketing is this skill of communication and relationship.
Yes.
And one of the things like that I'm launching this week in my school is really going to the art of energetics, emotional intelligence, pretty much because many entrepreneurs may not have the relational skill to attract the types of clients that they want to grow their business. Right, like you can have the technical skill, which is where you can have the technical skill, you can have the technical solution, you can be ready to serve people, but in order to attract, I teach more of attraction marketing. In order to serve people, we have to get better at how we communicate and our relational skills. So that's what I mean as entrepreneurship builds us. We have to build ourselves in order for our business to grow, because we bring what we know and who we are to that business, and the business really is growing at the pace at which we grow.
Really a true concept, because we're constantly shedding layers. We're constantly shedding the layer of where we started, where we want to go, when we get really clear and intentional about who we are.
Yes.
And who we want to serve.
Yes.
Right? Who's our ideal client?
Yes.
And for me, at Cami Photo Booth, I get it. There is a difference between a $400 photo booth and a $2,000 photo booth. And I want to be in the higher end, right? But I also understand my community. So I always say we're competitively priced.
Wow.
And I always tell everybody it's okay. We're not going to be able to serve everybody, right? There's going to be different layers, and you have to be okay in the spot that you are in, because now we've shed, right? So when we first started Cami Photo Booth, we were in that price range, but we didn't want to stay there. Why? Because it was a lot of work for less money. So we brushed our skills. We got really good at lighting. We got really good at photography. We got really good at placement and positioning our brand and understanding who our ideal client is. And we visualize that client every single time. And we know we are going to be a part of weddings that are spending anywhere between $25,000 and $50,000. And we're okay with that. We understand there is a budget for everybody, but our service is at a budget for the client that we are looking for.
Exactly.
So we're okay with saying, I'm sorry that you can't afford us, but let me refer you. Or I'm sorry, we're not the ideal company for you. We're the ideal company for somebody else. And that's okay. And we had to get there and say, you know what? This is where we live.
Yes.
Because this is the ideal client that we want to attract. But we got really down to even, what does this person look like? Where does this person live? What income does this person have? Right? What networks could this person possibly be in? So we started promoting on LinkedIn. A photo booth company promoting on LinkedIn. Might it sound crazy? Might sound like, hey, it's a photo experience, but we're doing so many other great things now. We're working with great corporate partners, large corporations. We are getting down to marketing. We're getting down to personalizing that marketing that really does that return on investment and then expands those marketing dollars for our corporate partners. We're on another level and we are okay with that.
And that is where, what you're talking about is the growth process. So I break the journey into ideation, planning, build, growth, and scale phase. And most people don't start there, because at the beginning is this concept going to fly? Is someone going to pay me, right? Is somebody going to value this enough? But many people get stuck, okay, in terms of once people start paying them at that early stage, they're like, oh, we'll stay here. This is the comfortable. It becomes comfortable. And so it actually takes a huge, massive leap of faith to leave the startup stage and to move to the next layer, because it requires us to actually let some things go.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, when we first started, we were so busy. We were going out. My teams were going out every weekend. We were doing multiple events. And you're right. It could be a very comfortable space because you see it. The money's coming in. But then you also look at it. You also look at the time that you've invested. You look at what equipment you've had to purchase to fulfill the event or the demand. And so we weren't really seeing the back end return that I wanted to see, right? Which was scalable.
Right.
I've been approached to franchise Cami photo booth
Right.
because we can have this in Texas, we can have this in New York, in
Right.
LA, and I have the global community to do that with the Latinx photo booth community that I
Right.
also founded.
Awesome.
And we have an event every year in Vegas, and knowing those those partners, excuse me, small business partners in those areas, we can definitely take what we've done here with Cami photo booth in the Chicagoland area
Yes.
and multiply it in those cities. Do I want to do that? That's not my intention for my business. My intention for my business is to be solidified and be well known in my community first,
Right.
and get deep, neat into that grind before we expand,
Exactly.
right? What that could be, it's a possibility.
Yes.
Is it a now? No. But are we back to doing, $200, $300, $400 events? Absolutely not.
Exactly. And this is exactly where business owners need to arrive at. And this is the transition from just entrepreneurship mindset where people chase the opportunity to business ownership mindset where you're running the business and you're making strategic decisions for the now, tomorrow, the future of your business. And those decisions, you're taking ownership and responsibility for it. And that's when you go from working inside your business to working on your business and really providing more of a strategic leadership direction for the growth and the path you want to take your business. And many entrepreneurs do not rise to that level, because once you get to that level, the game, the scenario, when I talk about game in the technical aspect, I understand like math and strategy, but the heart of it still remains, how far do you want to take this? Because now it's an option. Right? At least you can see, it's like the pilot that can see the growth potential, because at that stage, the resources, the how-to, the strategy of scaling, which is what you're talking about. Franchising is when you now want to scale. You have a structure that works. It's been tried and tested. It's been pressure tested. It works. And then do you want to multiply that? That's more of the scale.
Correct.
So you've gone from plan, build, you built a solid structure, and then you grew that structure into a strategic position in the marketplace. And now you see the potential of scale. And that is a fantastic place to be. Absolutely fantastic place to be, to see opportunities. Because most entrepreneurs that are in the trenches cannot see the opportunities. Right? It's psychological. They're daily running the grind and they're seeing challenges instead of opportunities.
Right. And you hit the nail on the head when you say they see the challenges and the psychological part of things, because not only have to be mentally prepared, you have to get there mentally, right, before you get there physically.
Yes.
But also, you have to surround yourself with the right individuals. Yes. I mean, we can all scale. Every business can scale. And it can scale, tenfold. But how quickly you want to get there. And for me, it's more organic. I've always, everything that I've put my name next to, whether it's Cups Bra Drive, Women of Aurora, the Latinx photo booth community, my business, even Pop of Love. It's a balloon decor. It has to be organic. There has to be an organic sense for it to thrive, because you can go really fast and burn out. And then where are you left, right? With a sense of failure. And so for me, I feel like you have to really first mentally get there and be psychologically prepared and well surrounded with the support system that you're going to need before you can actually step foot into that position.
Absolutely. And there's another school of thought. So I sit on the Illinois Export District Council. So there is another growth path where it's more international, because the biggest companies in the world, you go to that level when you start talking about international expansion. And part of the opportunity, I know with tariffs and all of those things now, where there's so much conversation in my space, but there is this nurturing of scaling faster, not just in a domestic market, but actually international as well. I've had presidential appointees join me on this show from Export-Import Bank, coming in from federal government, to talk about federal government resources that can help businesses expand internationally, expand US services and products internationally as well. So one of the messages I share with my community is there's really no end to how far you can go, be it locally here in Aurora or statewide or national. And then if you want to go international, there are some unique instruments and unique resources that you don't have to do it by yourself. It's another space entirely, and it's not well known because it's kind of like its own community. International development, it's its own community where you definitely will need to tap into government resources, because once you go into cross-border transactions, you have to understand the policies, to trade policies, import exports, right? So it just adds a little bit more complexity, but it's something you can learn really fast, because the initial startup is where there's a lot of figuring it out. But once you figure it out, it's pretty much runs by itself, because the statistics is that there are more customers, there are more consumers outside the United States than in the United States. And so you can learn here, but you can also grow, and there are different strategies to grow, agents network, just like you're talking about franchising.
Yes.
It could be different things you can do international as well. And so in my own world, it's this concept of what do you really want, right? Think clearly, what do you want? And then start pulling in the resources that will help you get there. The knowledge, education that will help you get there, the resources that will help you get there. And then this accelerator concept where people like myself, people like you, where our network, our contacts, introducing you to one person or two people can be a game changer in accelerating your growth. So that accelerant is really the sweet, that really is the game changer that I've seen in the world, that it's not the best ideas that flourish.
Right.
Okay? Because I ran a project for United Nations where entrepreneurs from 50 countries were submitting like thousands and thousands of ideas. right? I want to do this. I want to build this. This is what I'm building. Like I was just scrolling. It was thousands and thousands of, this is what I want to build for my nation. These are the ideas. So ideas are abundant. Every human, right? It's like there's a shopping center for ideas. Everybody has an idea. What I've seen is to take an idea and to commercialize it and to build it into a business, to make it successful. It has to pass through several stages that most people are not ready to, or most people make assumptions. And the biggest game changer is this concept of education. You've got to know what you're doing. Yes. Superior knowledge will beat the market, right? Correct. When you think about Amazons and the Walmarts, like, listen, PhD experts are sitting around that they understand how humans think, how humans act, the emotional intelligence. When I teach these things, I'm like, emotional intelligence, like the heart and mind of selling, the biggest brands in the world, they invest tremendous amounts of money to make sure they can scale. Right? And so they study humans. And then regular entrepreneurs, they are making assumptions like, listen, you need to do market research. So anyway, I bring that to my community. And then the resources, financial resources, right? It matters a lot. And then it's this X factor that I keep calling the accelerant, is that when luck strikes, when when you meet the right person, when you find the right information, when when COVID happens, right? It's like Zoom, Zoom became
the aha moment.
Exactly. Yes. So there are some things that are externally stimulated as well, but we always search for the innovation curve. Because when you're bringing new things into the marketplace, so there are some technical things that we know that entrepreneurs can also learn and pray for and position for, and versus again trying to do it by themselves and then wondering why it's not working.
Right, because you're just grinding and you're working in the business, not on the business.
Right.
And many times it has a lot to do with those processes. It goes back to understanding the process of how you work, how you do things. Because again, as an entrepreneur myself, I know that in my heart of hearts, I know how I want our clients to see us. I know what our clients should expect of us. I know how many times we have to communicate with our clients, what we have to do, our processes, right? But having that duplicity or to be able to duplicate that onto your team members takes processes.
Right.
So if you're going to grow and you're going to scale and you're going to get to that aha moment,
Right.
you need to be able to hand those items off
Right.
and have that so that they know the structure or the roadmap
Right.
on how to get there
Right.
without having to tap into you as
Right.
the as the entrepreneur. I call myself, actually, something that just came to mind, I don't call myself the CEO of my business. I call myself the Chief Experience
Wow.
Officer of my
Nice,
business,
nice.
because I want my team and my clients to have a phenomenal experience.
Absolutely.
So we're all about having fun. I mean,
Right.
you think about a photo booth and you've probably seen it at a wedding. And
Right.
you'd think, oh, well, I'm just going to go take a silly photo, right?
Yeah.
But for a corporation, that silly photo means their logo,
Right.
means their contact information.
Right.
We've done work for insurance companies where we put the agent's face and phone number and contact information so that those individuals who take that personalized photo of their
Right.
silly moment can laugh about it later. But you know where that contact information or that logo is going? On the refrigerator.
Right.
It's going to be handy
Right.
if they need something, or every 6 months to a year when they're looking for new insurance policies.
Absolutely. So it's exposure, it's engagement, and I think I love the fact you talked about experience, because that's what humans are looking for.
Yes.
Right? We're all looking for a great experience that delivers on the promise and gives us an emotional high,
Yeah.
where we walk away with memories, right? So humans, we're creating memories with every experience that we have, and the type of memory you create for people is what would make them keep coming back, and that excitement. And that's really, again, at the heart of business, is if every business can understand, right, what emotions are you going to deliver, what experience are you going to deliver, and what does it mean to your clients and customers to be able to deliver that as well. So this is really the heart of business.
Yes.
And I think with where the world is going, everybody needs to come back to the heart of businesses. Why do you exist? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Why are you
Who are you
connecting?
doing it for? And is it really about you, or do you really put your customer at the heart of your business? Because that's one of the things at the highest level, Walmart, Amazon's, we always talk about customer obsession, is that if you take care of your customer, if you put the customer as the heart of your business, then you can really serve them and they will reward you. And the mistake entrepreneurs make, and I include this in my mindset coaching programs, is that entrepreneurs put themselves as the heart of their business.
Yeah, I think for me, I come from a business background and HR background. So for me, I take care of my team, and my team takes care of my customers.
That's it.
So for me, I've had to brain dump my processes and to share this with my team members.
Right.
And now we have a staging coordinator, and we have 2 individuals that will go out there and do an entire event without me having to be present.
That's it.
And that's because, right, again, I know that I've instilled in them how I would treat my client, so then they just go out there and replicate it.
That's it.
And so they take care of my customers, I take care of my team takes care of my clients.
I think that HR background, really human resource, that sets your work apart, really, because most people breeze past that. They just want to, let's jump to the money, let's jump to the technical, humans will figure it out. But I
Right.
think you spending more time with people, teaching people, guiding people, coaching, mentorship, and also translating to women of Aurora. I think that's the game changer. That's where we all need to come back to, because people are not just looking to buy products and services. They're looking for people they can trust, which I shared last week.
Right.
People they can trust, people they can connect with, and people that can guide them and help them achieve what it is they're trying to achieve better. It sounds simple.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not very simple. It's not very simple. You'll kiss a lot of frogs. You'll think you caught the right frog before you have to
Prince
release
Charming.
it back into the pond.
Right? And this is why, for me, I've had to incorporate education into everything I do, because I started making assumptions. Imagine coming from working for the Fortune 1, okay, and then coming into the world. I assumed I was in a bubble. I was literally living in a bubble where everything works.
Right. because you're managing and dealing with high caliber individuals who already come with the conceptualized, bottom line is our
It
is
just
our
makes
net.
sense. Like I didn't
Yes.
have to say two, three.
Right.
Everybody was matching the matching order. Like everybody understood the assignment.
Right.
Everybody was highly trained. There was
Yeah.
funding. There was resources. Like listen, money. Like everybody knew
Continuous
what.
education. Yes.
Listen, my shock. I've recovered though.
Yes. Okay.
I've recovered.
We okay now?
It's like the military coming. It's like someone on the military line. Literally, we had military training, like our
Oh,
leadership
wow.
training, where by military, like there's this fierce execution and synchronous, like really, really like match. Everybody understood what they were doing.
Right.
So imagine someone from military coming out into civilian population.
Oh my goodness. Right. Right. Because even the verbiage, I know
Right.
sitting here with you, I go back to my corporate days of like, speaking of ROI, speaking of conceptualizing, speaking of strategy, speaking of,
Yeah.
what are we doing for what are we
Exactly.
strategizing for the next market
Yeah.
quarters? We're thinking, right. We're not thinking about, oh shoot, this weekend we need to get ABC product to deliver ABC experience.
Yes.
Yes.
And
So-
I still have that. So I sit on the board of a public company. So I still have my corporate, my hand, my feet, my world still in, big business and, stock market and all of that. So I'm still very much in that language of, investor and all of those things. So I love that world. I'm still very much connected. But what I've had to grow at, okay, what I've had to learn, and COVID also played a role. 2020 was I had to slow down enough to realize that the passion that I brought to my community, everybody was excited, but not everybody had the skills.
Okay. Yeah, the language.
Okay.
The language
Yes.
changes.
Yes. Not everybody
Correct.
it was exciting for Toyin to say we can do this. It's like the vote, let's go. And everybody's like, yes, let's go. Where are we going?
Where?
Though?
Right,
How
right.
do
What
we get there?
direction?
Right?
Right.
And so 2020 was when I started teaching. I started with teaching and training government officials, and then when it comes to trade, investments, and then slowly I realized that was still very high, right? Investor relations, this and that. And so I slowly went from training government. I still do that, but now I started bringing it back down to the grassroots.
Right.
Right. So at the grassroots, so my school, my classes, so you find me teaching sales, marketing. I come from an academia world. My husband is a professor. And so this huge gap in the traditional education world. And I'm part of that because my late father was part of establishing 2 universities. So in my house, when I say I have a school, people are like, you have a school? I'm like, it seems natural because I'm married to a university professor, and I've seen 2 in my lifetime. I've seen 2 universities start from scratch and be implemented. So it felt so like, of course,
Right.
like, but when I think about it, it's more of my parents' legacy that I'm living on. Is this idea that the traditional school system prepares us to be employees.
Right.
That's
and it does.
in the psychology, in the mindset, the entire curriculum, the entire first 20 years of anybody's that wants to, in a Western society, because education is regulated by the government. I know all those,
Right.
behind the scenes.
I mean, that's why it was conceptualized to be an 8-hour day for students
Absolutely.
and children. Yes.
Right. It's a replica for the life after, which is the employee life. You have your desk, you have your employee. If you do what they want you to do, you get your salary, you get your hay. It was designed to fulfill the industrial era. So I understand it. But we've moved into a time, the world has changed, and it is changing really, really fast, where every single person, one way or the other, you're going to need to have some form of entrepreneurial skills, even on the job. Job, because the job has changed. AI is here. You can no longer say, I'm a programmer and that's all I'm going to be paid for. Guess what? AI can program faster.
Yes,
every
AI.
single human. So the world we're living in right now is that the skills you acquired from the school that makes you an employee, and the employee mindset of waiting for somebody to tell you what to do, to give you directions, and then you do what they tell you to do, you don't take initiative, right? That has to go away. And so, in a way, every human needs to now function with our thinking caps on, okay? Where we have to be part of designing what the future looks like, including what the future of your own job looks like. Because if you cannot articulate what your job is going to do to contribute to your employer, it's on the table.
Correct.
So you actually have to sell your skills all over again. And if it's in competition with AI, it's naturally going to be cross. So I'm just saying, we are living in a time where the way we were trained pretty much is not going to serve us in the future. And so people are also having to leave corporate or government jobs, and they have ideas and they have passion and they believe in themselves. And so that world didn't train people to be entrepreneurs. And so filling in that gap, my book and my resources is, okay, I've been in corporate, I understand, but you're going to need to change your mindset. You're going to need to change your outlook. This is you now. You have to run your life in a different way. And it's a new type of training.
Right.
It's
Well, I think a couple of things that come from what you're sharing now in your story and your background, because, I came to this country as an immigrant, and for 26 years I was undocumented, and so I didn't have access. Once I graduated high school, I wouldn't have access to community college or college had I not been able to afford a 3-time, tuition rate, which was an out-of-state tuition. That's the only thing that the state could offer me. So I lobbied, and I lobbied for in-state tuition, and I lobbied for the DREAM Act, and I was in front of people's faces that could have easily made a phone call and had me removed, right? But I took those challenges and those leaps of faith because I understand the value of education.
Right.
Because I knew that the equalizer for me in the community that I was growing up in was an equalizer would be education. Right. So when you say that it comes natural to you to be able to do and put in place these classes, courses, and university-style sessions, you understand the value of education. Absolutely. You have seen the impact that education can do for your family, for your community. 2 universities, that's a giant leap for anyone. So kudos to your parents for really instilling not only in yourself but in their own communities that education is valuable. Right. Because it is the equalizer, but more importantly, it's what allows individuals like myself, who was a young immigrant child growing up on, with the food pantry, ESL classes, learning to read. I always thought I was horrible at math, but it was because I didn't understand it. It was not in my mind to translate, from English to Spanish, Spanish to English. Wow. But at the end of the day, that really helped me get to where I'm at today. Right. Is really fighting for my education, and fighting for the opportunity to learn. Right. And even in my business now, I say, we're going to sharpen our skills. We are not going to wait for somebody to come tell us to do this, or wait until something happens, that oh shoot moment.
Exactly.
we are going to invest in ourselves. Right. So kudos for doing that.
Yes, and I think the unique thing about this type of education is that while I have 2 degrees from the traditional system, and I was part of that, and my husband's part of that, and I absolutely respect and honor all of the journey I've been on. The education that I am focused on is wealth creation education. This is the biggest game changer, where this is the only empowerment that matters.
Yes.
There's a type of empowerment that still leaves you in the mud.
Yes.
Right? That's still, we're empowering you, but it still leaves you level 1, level 2. The type of education I focus on now is what brings you into the rooms where you have the full power to build the life you desire. Right. And not depending, right? So again, I've lived in the corporate world, incredible opportunities. I rose through the ranks to work for the biggest company in the world. So I've been there and I love it, and I still sit on a board of a company, and we love the people who serve us every day. But this is about having more options.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
It's just adding more options to the menu to say, you don't have to get stuck doing this. If you have an idea, if you can develop, and you can learn everything. You can learn networking, you can learn communication skills, you can learn sales, you can learn branding, you can pretty much learn everything if you are a good student, right? If you're a
Correct.
good student, because so many people don't want to learn, they just want to make assumptions, and nothing happens there as well. But if you're ready to learn how to build wealth, how to build the skills that allows you to go into the marketplace with your ideas and sell yourself, not just to one employer, but to as many people that you can serve, that's where we move into that entrepreneurial skills, where you literally take your own economy into your own hands. It's now up to you. Now, there's a lot of risks involved, which is why I talk about education, education, education. Don't just jump in
Right.
without skill, without knowledge. That's that bridge. So my school offers this kind of bridge experience to say you can still have your job, but at least you can do the night schools and you can start learning the future of what owning your business feels like.
Yeah, preparation.
Absolutely.
Prepare. You can never be overly prepared.
Absolutely.
Because the second thing that I wanted to share with you is that you touched something that's very important, and I think in this political climate, some of our community members are missing out on the fact that we're not a silo, right? The United States doesn't live on silo, inward. We've had trades and commerce and imports, and tariffs isn't a new thing, but for the last 200 years, we've had to rely on a global level, global community, and it has expanded and grown. And the internet has put us all on a global market. So doing business just locally is a thing of the past.
Wow.
You can be a mom who's branding T-shirts, caps, you're branding different items, or you're creating bracelets. You put that on the internet and you can sell it to somebody
Absolutely.
across the pond.
Right.
You're no longer just living in this one silo area, right? Doing business here locally. The world is
Absolutely.
the platform.
Absolutely. And one of the statistics I know Exim leader shared was the community that grows such people still benefits,
Yes.
because it's like the world, you can sell to the world and then bring the money back to the community. So actually global communities, I've been hosted and interviewed on this before. Global communities is what we ought to be building,
striving for,
where you're contributing, you're engaged, you're plugged into the local community, but your clients and customers, the people who pay you, can be anywhere in the world. And the community grows faster, which is one of the things when you think about Chicago being a global region, is that the city that houses a global community and acknowledges the diversity of its citizens, they are more open to making more money because the world brings the money to you. Those businesses. So that's one of the statistics that when I worked for Walmart at the headquarters, you can imagine it's used to be a small town. It's still a small town, but the town that houses the world's largest company is making a lot of money.
I'm sure they are. Yes, because they understand, right? You can tap into your market locally, but to expand, to grow, to bring dollars back to the community, you have to be able to sell across this pond, down in Latin America.
Absolutely.
I will be the first to tell you, I started the Latinx photo booth community, and we meet once a year in Las Vegas, and I throw a mixer just to connect with people from across the world. And one thing that I have learned is that, yes, we talk about photo booth and we talk about software and we talk about photography and we talk about event space and corporate, but Latin America is making a comeback. I mean, they are taking over this wavelength.
Just imagine if you were hosting them here.
Yes.
So this is, we'll start wrapping up. This is one of the opportunities for Aurora. And this is that X factor accelerant where it's not enough for the citizens to be having this conversation. It's actually also important for the mayor and his leadership to be actively recruiting citizens that will bring global activities to the city. This is how cities grow, right? When you study economic development, is that the mayor, his team they're doing all that they can, but the real engine of economic development in any city is the people and their connection to other parts of the world. This has been studied where immigrants, first generation immigrants, when they start businesses, they can actually be the accelerant that connects their city back to their own country. So when there are delegates and international visits and all of those things, is that what I've seen is that cities that partner with their diverse community, they grow faster, because those, once you enable that kind of growth, it's like wildfire. It's the X factor.
Correct.
Literally, is that once you imagine if you brought your Latinx boots, I brought my stuff, everybody brings their activity. All of a sudden, every weekend something is happening.
Correct. From across
Right?
the
And
globe.
people are bringing their money. And that's one thing I used to do as well in Bentonville, that they keep asking, come back, bring your events, because I bring traveling international guests to a city. And so and it multiplies because they have hotels, they have food, and they go shopping.
Right.
Isn't it?
All true factors. I mean,
Yeah.
and absolutely right. And just bringing it back to Women of Aurora, the women that attend the sessions, monthly sessions, it's everyone's invited. Everyone that is female or identifies as a female to come to the Women of Aurora. We meet on the second Thursday of the month at Society 57. It's a beautiful location. There is a limit. We have about a 25 to 30 limit for attendance. But what you're going to get is access to women that understand these concepts.
Exactly.
Understand the concepts of accelerating, of quantum leaping your sales, of positioning your brand, of how to talk about your brand.
Exactly.
And you may leave there and it's about 30-minute conversation, but you're lunching with your friends and you're in a place where you can be your authentic self.
Yes.
You can feel comfortable, you can feel safe to share experiences as well as your own knowledge, and more importantly, we're there to connect.
Yes.
So Women of Aurora brings something to the city of Aurora already.
Absolutely. Yes.
And I have to give it up to the mayor right now, because he put together a commission for sister cities,
Yes.
which I sit on.
Oh, when did it? Okay, we'll talk about that.
So I sit on the Sister Cities Committee as well
Nice.
because of my global reach, and I felt like it was very important. But I think because of his pillars
Yes.
that have really drawn me in, of safety, education,
Nice.
economics, I see the vision.
That's amazing.
So for me, I completely agree with you when you first started this conversation, when you first started this conversation and said, Aurora has a lot of potential.
Absolutely.
I fully agree.
I agree.
Because I could have done a Women of Oswego, Women of Naperville, Women of Tri-Cities, right? And I still can. And that might be
yes.
the goal.
Yes.
But I'm starting home base.
Yes.
I'm starting here at home base.
Yes.
And I firmly believe that there are phenomenal women that
I agree.
here in the city of Aurora that for many years, Aurora had a bad rap, right? And we're changing and we're overcoming and we're developing and we're showcasing how beautiful a diverse city can come together and truly build economic wealth.
Absolutely. And for me here, for over 2 years, I've showed up to bring the message, to bring education, to bring inspiration, motivation, resources to the city, because part of my own, and I think this is where we connect, is wherever I make home, I always bring my best self to it, and that's so that together we can all grow our community together economically and equip them. So thank you so much. Any parting words as we wrap up today?
Thank you. Again, I open an invitation to all the women of Aurora and neighboring cities to participate in our meeting, our luncheons, on the second Thursday at 11 a.m. at Society 57, a beautiful host. And come check out what we're doing in Aurora.
Absolutely. And I was a guest speaker last week, and I can absolutely say, you know what, you're doing the right thing with the right hearts for the right people, and so we definitely support you on this show. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for watching this episode of Quantum Leap. I'm your host, Toyin Umesiri. I hope to see you again next week. God bless you. Bye.